The free trade agreement between India and the European Union has now been concluded and officially announced. Negotiations are over. The broad terms are agreed. However, the agreement is not yet in force. It will come into effect after legal review, ratification, and approval by EU member states and Indian authorities. This distinction matters. But even at this stage, the agreement signals a major strategic shift. Part 1. What has been agreed in principle? Under the concluded India-EU Free Trade Agreement, both sides have agreed to significantly lower trade barriers once the deal is implemented. For India, this includes major tariff reductions on exports to Europe. Earlier, many Indian products faced duties ranging from 12 to 16%. Under the agreed framework, these tariffs will be removed or sharply reduced across several key sectors. This means Indian goods are expected to become far more competitive in the European market once the deal takes effect. Part 2. Why exports are central to this deal. The European Union is one of the world's largest consumer markets. Lower tariffs directly translate into better price competitiveness. Sectors expected to benefit include textiles, pharmaceuticals, electronics, auto components, leather goods, and gems and jewelry. These industries already have strong capacity in India. The agreement gives them long-term access to Europe without the earlier tariff disadvantage. Part 3. MSMEs, Jobs, and Regional Impact. Many of the benefiting sectors are labor-intensive. This is crucial. When exports rise, production rises. When production rises, jobs are created. MSMEs and manufacturing clusters. Across Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, and Punjab are expected to benefit the most. This is why the agreement matters beyond trade statistics. Part 4. Services and Digital Trade. The agreement is not limited to goods. India's services sector plays a major role. The agreed framework improves access for Indian companies in areas such as IT and software, fintech, consulting, engineering, telecom, e-commerce, and digital services. Once implemented, Indian firms will face fewer regulatory barriers when operating across EU countries. This supports India's long-term strength as a global services hub. Part 5. Why Europe signed this deal. This agreement is not one-sided. European companies are actively trying to diversify supply chains. For years, they depended heavily on manufacturing from China. Geopolitical risk, supply disruptions, and over-concentration have forced a rethink. India offers scale, workforce depth, and political stability. The agreement provides a structured pathway for European companies to invest and source more from India. Part 6. Investment and Technology Flow. Once the agreement is implemented, European investment into India is expected to rise. Key areas include manufacturing, clean energy, electronics, pharmaceuticals, and advanced engineering. This investment is not just capital. It also brings technology transfer, process expertise, and deeper integration into global value chains. Part 7. What India has protected. India has not opened every sector. Sensitive agricultural areas such as dairy, rice, spices, and poultry remain protected. This ensures Indian farmers are not exposed to sudden competition from subsidized European agriculture. Domestic regulatory standards are preserved. This balance makes the agreement politically and economically sustainable. Part 8. Does this change India-Russia ties? The agreement does not replace India's relationship with Russia. India will continue to rely on Russia for energy, fertilizers, and defense cooperation. However, the deal expands India's options. By strengthening ties with Europe, India reduces overdependence on any single partner. This increases strategic autonomy. Part 9. The indirect effect on China. The impact on China is indirect but important. As European firms reduce dependence on Chinese manufacturing, India becomes a viable alternative. With future tariff advantages in Europe, Indian products will compete more effectively against Chinese goods. This gradually reshapes global supply chains without direct confrontation. Part 10, where the U.S. fits in. For the United States, the agreement is largely complementary. It aligns with Washington's push for resilient and trusted supply chains outside China. It also gives India leverage in future trade negotiations with the U.S. India is no longer dependent on a single Western market. The big picture. The India-EU Free Trade Agreement is not about choosing sides. It is about expanding strategic space. Stronger economic ties with Europe. Core relationships with Russia intact. Greater competitiveness against China. Balanced engagement with the United States. In a fragmented global economy, this flexibility is power. Conclusion. The India-EU Free Trade Agreement has been concluded and announced. Implementation will follow after ratification and legal processes. But even now, the signal is clear. India is positioning itself as a resilient, diversified, and dependable pillar of the global economic system for the decade ahead.